Welcome to episode 350 of the Postal Hub podcast. I'm Ian Kerr. Joining me in a moment is Carmen Cureu. Carmen is Market Research Director at Geopost. We're going to discuss some new B2B e-commerce research from Geopost. Before we get to Carmen, a quick reminder that Parcel and Post Expo is coming up soon. It's going to be held in Amsterdam from the 22nd to the 24th of October. Go to parcelandpostexpo.com to find out more. So coming up in just a moment, Carmen Cureu, Market Research Director at Geopost. Joining me on the line is Carmen Cureu. Carmen is the Market Research Director at Geopost. And Carmen, you're joining us today not to talk about e-shoppers in the traditional sense, but we're going to talk about B2B e-commerce. So what research has Geopost done into B2B e-commerce?
Hi, Jan. And indeed, for the first time ever, I'm not here to talk to you about e-shoppers, but about businesses. So companies who receive parcels, the to be part of the traditional B2B. Companies who receive parcels as part of their daily business activities, basically receiving their supplies or raw materials from manufacturers, or simply the goods that they will resell for retailers afterwards. And we decided to launch this survey this year because, as you know, we've been engaged in conversation with e-shoppers all across Europe for 7 years now. But we felt the need to also deep dive into the expectations of companies in terms of delivery.
Is this a Europe-centric survey that you've done?
Yes, definitely. We cover 11 countries in Europe, Western, Central, and Eastern Europe.
So tell us a bit more about sort of some of the reasons why you did the survey. You're talking about the kinds of things that businesses are ordering, goods for their resale or for crucial part of their business. Are you expecting it to be the same as the B2C e-commerce shopper who's just wants their stuff quickly, things like that?
Well, basically, we decided to focus not just on delivery, but to try to understand how companies work nowadays, from sourcing their suppliers to the delivery of their goods. The idea is to understand basically the changes that have happened or not over the past years, also because of the various crises that we knew in Europe in terms of sourcing, and also to understand how companies choose their suppliers. What are, let's say, the major drivers? What are the things that matter the most to them? Does delivery play a role in choosing a supplier? Yes or no? And then also deep diving into the needs, the expectations of companies in terms of delivery. We have a very broad understanding at Geopost nowadays on the expectations of e-shoppers. So we know that the services that we push to the market are based on those expectations, answering the needs of e-shoppers. We want to make sure that the services that we push to the market for companies, the same way, answer their major needs.
So let's talk about the findings of the survey then. You talk about how delivery being a driver, or how should we put it? It's key for operational success, I suppose. So can you just share some of these findings that's come out of this survey, please?
Yes, one major finding is that delivery indeed is very important for companies. We discussed with two types of companies. We talked with big companies, 32 of them, and then we talked with SMEs, lots of SMEs, 2,200 all across Europe. And especially for the SMEs, delivery is definitely extremely important for their business success because they work with small stocks, etc., etc. So in terms of operations, they need to have efficiencies coming also from their sourcing patterns. 86% of the SMEs tell us today that delivery is a key success factor or a major pain point to business success if we look at the negative way of things in terms of their business activities.
you're talking about their operational processes. And what about their expectations of delivery? And I'll be interested also to hear, you've just identified that you've talked to the SMEs and also the larger companies, if there's any difference in their expectations around delivery as well.
I think the major expectations are the same if we look at big companies and if we look at SMEs. And these are what I would call, let's say, industry hygiene factors. I mean, it's very straightforward. First major expectation is to have the parcels delivered safely. No big surprise. I mean, you want the goods to get to you in the right shape, in the right way. Secondly, they want to have the parcels delivered on time. What does that mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that they want to have their parcels delivered very quickly, so with extreme speed. It's all about carriers taking a commitment. I will deliver the parcel in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and then sticking to that commitment. Because again, this comes to operational processes within SMEs. They expect their parcels in 3 days. So this is when they have the resource to handle, the parcels coming in. And this is where they also start their operational processes afterwards. Therefore, making a commitment and then sticking to it is definitely a major expectation. Thirdly, I would say, and another hygiene factor of our industry is sometimes issues happen. Not all deliveries are fully successful. Sometimes parcels can be missing or have delays, etc., etc. And SMEs, same way big companies, really understand that. I mean, we have huge flows of parcels that we handle. Also, companies receive lots of parcels, and they definitely understand that issues can arise throughout the process. But the major expectation when that happens is that carriers solve those issues very quickly, very efficiently. And I would say efficiency is a word that we heard so many times in these conversations with companies. E-shoppers tell us that delivery should be convenient, first of all, for them. Companies always mention the notion of efficiency. So these are the major expectations that they have coming from the very traditional, so to say, B2B space. But we also see some emerging expectations. And I believe that these emerging expectations come from all of us being e-shoppers. When we put on our professional business shoes, yes, definitely we put on a suit, we put on our business shoes, but it's different to totally change our mindset. We have got used to now having lots of digital tools to interact with in the e-commerce space that also help us gain in terms of efficiency. Businesses, SMEs, expect the same thing to happen in terms of delivery when it comes to their own companies. So what we see is that they are telling us that having automated dashboards to track their parcels would be such an amazing thing for them on a daily basis. As an e-shopper, you get notifications, you get push mails, text messages, etc., and you, without even asking, at every single moment in time where your parcel is. So when you put on your business shoes, you should be able to do the same. At least this is what SMEs think. Another topic that comes probably also from an influence from the e-shopper space to the business universe is the fact that more and more SMEs are requesting to be able to interact with the carriers through specific apps. Definitely, we know it's been going on in the e-commerce space for a while now. You can redirect your parcel, change the delivery date, change the delivery slot, change the delivery place, etc., etc. Businesses expect to be able to do the same through apps in their business context.
It really does seem that this strive for convenience in the B2C sector has leaked over, like you said. The perceptions have changed. And I've heard something similar from other carriers in the past to what you've just said, that it used to be when they went in to meet with their business customers, they just meet with the head of operations. But more and more people want to be in the meeting because they've got an opinion about e-commerce delivery based on their own personal expectations and experiences that they want to see how that interacts or how that crosses over into the business context. So the idea of delivered in full, on time, as ordered, has been around for a while. But it's interesting what you said about businesses wanting their parcels delivered intact as well. So anyway, enough of me editorializing everyone. Let's continue with the questions. You mentioned about the digital interactions, but also that the business customers want things resolved quickly. If there's a problem, they want it resolved, I think efficiently was the word you used. Do you have any insights you can share in that regard and how they expect efficient resolution of problems?
Basically, we asked them all a question. What are the major improvements that you expect for delivery in, let's say, a very short period of time? It's not about, do you want your parcels to be delivered by drones, for instance, in 10 years from now? Tomorrow, if you had the power to make a change on delivery, what would that change be? And interestingly, we have 35% of e-shoppers talking about tracking. Improve the tracking. SMEs want, as I already said, want to have their parcels tracked very easily, and that builds into the digital expectations that they have. On the other hand, 35% of SMEs, same level as for the tracking, expect carriers to improve their customer service processes. On customer service, we get into the space where digital is great when you just want to have one quick piece of information. But if you have an issue, a real issue with the delivery of your parcels, this is where the preference of SMEs is to have a human at the end of the line, a person that can really help them easily, quickly to solve the issues. Because again, delivery is key to their business success. And they want also that human presence. It was interesting for us to discover that digital and human in terms of expectations are exactly at the same level for the future of delivery. One could think that nowadays it's all about digital. Human does have its place in the delivery world, but every notion should have its own space to build on those efficiencies that definitely expect on a daily basis.
Earlier, you were talking about businesses' expectations around delivery. It's not necessarily about being fast, but about delivering when you say you're going to deliver. How does that get broken down, though? Do you break it down to the day level? You said you're going to deliver on Tuesday. You have to deliver on Tuesday. Or are there expectations now from businesses, as we're seeing in the consumer market, to predict to the hour or to a 2-hour window about when, or predict when delivery is likely to be? Does that come out in the research?
When we ask specifically SMEs if they want to have exact delivery slots that they know in advance, some say yes, some don't really have a big expectation around that. For sure, if we go into, say, some more specific verticals like healthcare, delivering to hospitals, for sure, for them, again, from an efficiency point of view, it's better to have specific slots. So there are expectations in that direction. But if we talk to, let's say, SMEs in the fashion area, they don't have the same level of detail in terms of need for the specific moment of the delivery. However, what we see is that 77% of SMEs tell us that they have a big preference for having always the same driver delivering their parcels. And when we ask why, it's simply because the driver knows exactly when to deliver. They know the habits of the SMEs that they deliver on a daily basis. They know that, for instance, company X, someone is present from 10 to 12 and there's a break from 12 to 2. So there's no reason why they should be there from 12 to 2. They know exactly what door to knock at. They know exactly the number they need to call in case there's no one at the reception desk, for instance, etc., etc. So again, the human comes into the play, a very personal connection with the carrier through the driver, himself or herself, and again, bringing efficiency into the process. And thus, in a way, substituting the need for a very specific delivery slot for some of the companies.
Earlier, Carmen, you mentioned that the businesses want to be able to monitor all their deliveries maybe in a dashboard or something like that, the same way that a consumer might have the app that shows when they're going to get their parcels delivered. How do they use that information, though? Is it just something they look at in the morning to have a look at what their tracking data in a central place, or is it more than that?
Well, I think this depends on the size of the companies. We talked with SMEs, and among the SMEs, we talked to very small, tiny companies with 2 or 3 employees only, but also with bigger ones going up to 200 employees. Of course, depending on the number of people working within a company, things will change in the sense that for the very small ones, the use would be almost identical to the use that private individuals will make of the app that they have from a carrier, and they just have a look in the morning, and that's it. It would be the same for tiny companies where you would have the owner of the company who's also responsible for the operations and who's also responsible for packaging the parcels that will be shipped then to e-shoppers if it's a retailer that we are talking about. And that person needs to be probably the only one to have a clear understanding of where the parcels are. The bigger the company, the more we'll see needs for integrating that type of digital dashboard into a broader tool that they have on their own in the hands of the operations directors or in the hands of also managers locally of, the depots, etc., etc. So it all depends on the size of the company, and we can go from user of an app the same way as in the private individual's world to more sophisticated tools that need to be integrated within the bigger tools that they have on a daily basis.
Carmen, if people want to get into the detail with this new report, how can they access this new Geopost report?
Well, the report will be available as always on the geopost.com website. Can be easily downloaded. It will be the European results, and then people can also reach out to Geopost for country-specific results.
I'll put a link on the episode page on the postalhub.com, so you can head over there to the postalhub.com and look out for this episode page, and we'll put a link there or some instructions on how to access the report. Carmen Cureu, Market Research Director at Geopost, thank you very much for joining us on the Postal Hub podcast today. Coming soon on the Postal Hub podcast, Miloš Zlatkovic, the founder and CEO of Miley Technologies, joins us to talk about out-of-home delivery. I'll also be chatting with Alistair Cochrane, the Chief Operating Officer at Royal Mail. Make sure you don't miss any of these episodes. Sign up for the podcast. Sign up for it. Subscribe to the podcast in Apple Podcasts, in the other one from Amazon, whatever it's called, Amazon Music, or on Spotify, on various other podcast platforms. You can also subscribe to my email newsletter that I send out whenever there's a new episode released. You can even sign up for the Daily Delivery Digest if you like a bit of delivery and postal stuff in your inbox every day. Go to thepostalhub.com to find out more. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, you can. Just look for me and you click follow. And you can even follow the Postal Hub if that's your thing over there on LinkedIn. If you want to contact me about anything at all, my email address is ian@thepostalhub.com. I'm Ian Kerr. Thanks for listening in, and I look forward to your company next time on the Postal Hub podcast.